Welcome back to Pen and Reel. I'm your host, Uncle Joel, and today we're going to be talking about Dark Knight's Death Metal issue number 5. Now, I've completely given up on the notion of trying to avoid spoilers, as it's becoming increasingly difficult to talk about this series without talking about specifics. Right off the bat, I can tell you this issue is a bit of a mixed bag. It does a number of things right in my book, but at the same time, it continues the trend of throwing out just really bizarre ideas that don't quite gel with me. So pretty much right away, within a couple of pages, the heroes wind up facing off against Castle Bat. And this is one of those ideas that I just really do not care for. And this is a Bruce Wayne whose mind has been transferred into Gotham City itself, which has then in turn transformed into a castle, and a castle that can also transform into a giant, robotic Batman. And naturally, being Batman, he has a way to defeat every member of the Justice League. Not only do I think that this is just a very stupid character and a really stupid creation, but the way that he takes down the Justice League is he traps Superman in a cage and he says, "I have Red Sun." And then he traps Batman in a cage and he says, "I have this thing that stops you." There's no illustration of Castle Bat utilizing these different means of taking them down. He just traps them in a cage and he says, "Here, this is what I did to defeat you." It's one of the problems that I've been having with Scott Snyder over this entire run, is that he keeps throwing out these things and then using dialogue to explain what should be shown visually. At the very least, I would be much more forgiving if, say, that cage that trapped Superman showed some red light shining out of it, and then Castle Bat explained, "Oh, that's red sunlight, that's how I'm trapping you." At least at that point, the dialogue would be supplementing what is already being displayed. Whereas the way it's actually playing out, the visuals are doing very little of the storytelling, and most of it is relying on the dialogue. So the whole Castle Bat section of this issue, I really did not like. It's a stupid character, a stupid idea, and poorly implemented at that. Fortunately, the book does get quite a bit better. From there, we get the introduction of Lex Luthor to the Justice League, as well as the confrontation between the Batman Who Laughs, aka the Darkest Knight, and Perpetua. Now, both of those story points are explored more in various tie-ins, which I do appreciate those tie-ins for that purpose, but at the same time, in the main event, assuming somebody who's reading just the main book, I feel like at least the Perpetua/Darkest Knight confrontation should have a little bit more page time here. Still, it's just going to be two mind-bogglingly massive entities throwing punches, so I'm fine with them not really focusing too much on that, and choosing rather to develop the characters and the story more. And so one of the strengths of the issue is that we do slow down quite a bit, where we get some interaction between Lex Luthor and the Justice League, we get some good character moments with Batman, Superman, and Wonder Woman, and I'm still not crazy about what Scott Snyder is doing with these characters, but nevertheless, he's actually taking the time to explore them rather than just throwing them into the action as he did at the beginning of the event. One of the critiques I have had about the book so far that I haven't really voiced is it hasn't really felt significantly like a Wonder Woman story. It's felt like a DCU story and it's just seen through the eyes of Wonder Woman. If you look at the Dark Knight's Metal event, that was very much a Batman-centric story. And then so much of this event has still been a Batman-centric story. Focusing on the Batman Who Laughs and having so many different dark Batmen show up, this has been a very Batman-centric event, even though Wonder Woman is supposed to be the main character. Unfortunately, this issue starts to rectify that quite a bit. Lex Luthor talks to Wonder Woman, and he tells her that Superman seeks to pull out the best in us, and Batman seeks to curb the worst. But you, Diana, you seek the truth. And I feel like this is a very good way of using Wonder Woman to draw to the core of the story and to the ultimate destination of Dark Knight's Death Metal as a whole. There's also a discussion of Crisis Energy versus AntiCrisis Energy, and while I do find it a bit clunky to use those terms, I do appreciate what Scott Snyder's doing here with those concepts. I would really like it if later on another writer could come in and explore those concepts a little bit farther, and in the process, give them better names. And it feels to me like Scott Snyder has just been charging forward and not really putting enough thought into what he is doing beyond the end goal. So he's talking about Crisis Energy and Anti-Crisis Energy, and he is using those core ideas, but doesn't take the time to flesh those ideas out properly and give them good titles. It's just, well, I'm talking about Crisis Energy, so The opposite's going to be AntiCrisis Energy. Okay, let's move on. But at the same time, not defining them better allows those to be loose strings that other writers could potentially later on take and develop farther, the way that things like the Speed Force has, or the multiverse, or the omniverse, and so on. And overall, this is very much a bridging issue. It's very much setting up for the conflict to come. And so, in that sense, it is a little bit disappointing that Scott Snyder is continuing to present new ideas and introduce new concepts. Whereas I feel like some of those ideas and concepts should have been introduced and explored a little bit earlier, and this issue should be bringing things a little bit more into focus. Now, it is bringing things more into focus, and so it may well work out well enough in that regard. But as it is, the pacing and the structure of the story I feel is a little bit off. And a quick note on the art, I've always liked Greg Capullo, but I've felt his characters are always a little bit odd. And there are a few panels in this issue that really highlights what I don't like about his character work. A prime example being the way that he illustrates Anthro here. It's only a single image of a single character, and he's standing behind Batman. He's not the focus of the shot, so it's not a huge deal. But at the same time, I really don't care for the way he's illustrated, and that's kind of true for a lot of his character work. And so even though Capullo's good at these dynamic shots and these dark characters, I do feel like a lot of his character work is lacking, particularly in the facial structure. And while that doesn't significantly impact my enjoyment of the book, it does detract from that experience a little bit. So overall, issue 4 and now issue 5 of Dark Knight's Death Metal has done quite a bit to redeem the series. It still has a lot of flaws and a lot of things I don't like about it, but it's getting easier to look past those and appreciate a lot of the greater work that is being done here. First half of the series was not very good in my opinion, but the second half so far is shaping up to be much better. And while issue 5 was very much set up for what's to come, I definitely enjoyed it, and based off of what was set up here, I'm definitely looking forward to issue number 6 and then the conclusion of the series. But if you've read the book, what did you think? Do you agree with my assessment that the event is steadily improving? Do you enjoy the things that I'm not enjoying, such as Castle Bat? Are you satisfied with the trajectory of the series up to this point? Let me know down in the comments. I'm really curious to hear what you think. And if you could help me out with my battle against the YouTube algorithm by hitting a like, I'd really appreciate it. Make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss out on the rest of my Dark Knight's Death Metal coverage. And until next time, this is Uncle Joel saying, stay tangible.